Okay, hi guys, thanks for joining. Welcome to another video from Team Quickshift here on our YouTube channel. Purpose of this video is we basically wanted to talk a little bit about the Honda Africa Twin, the whole setup, so the crash bars, the luggage, the tires, the bike, why the Honda Africa Twin, why an adventure bike at all. And within this video, what we will do, we will slice it into different chapters, let's say, so that you can decide, maybe you just want to focus on tires, whatever, crash bars, then you can just jump to the respective minute. Little disclaimer up front, so everything you see in this video is own money, so no sponsoring at all. And why do I feel entitled to talk a little bit about the whole setup? I spent quite some time, first of all, on the internet searching for the different parts and having a look at pros and cons and reviews, comments and so on and so forth. But nobody really presented the whole setup, adventure bike setup, to a certain extent so that I would feel comfortable with deciding for a certain product. So that's why we will make this video now. And another disclaimer, of course, I'm not a native English speaker, so bear with me. I have some notes here on my smartphone, and I would say, let's give it a try. Chapter 1, the bike. First of all, I was looking for an adventure bike, of course. I was not looking for a race bike. I was not looking for a lightweight enduro like KTM, Husqvarna, whatever. I was really looking for an adventure bike which is capable of doing, let's say, a little bit of off-road. If you have a look at guys like Kieran Mirabe, Paul Tarres, what these guys do with adventure bikes, with the Yamaha Tenere or with the Honda Africa Twin, that's absolutely stunning. Of course, these bikes are capable of doing crazy off-road. Always depends on the rider. But from my perspective, I was looking for a bike which can do a little bit of off-road here and there, of course, but which is also capable of riding long distances to countries like Montenegro, Albania, Italy, France, whatever. Plus, always being able to carry a pillion rider and bring some luggage with me. So that was the idea I had in mind. And then I had, of course, a look at the different bikes available on the market. The Yamaha Tenere I mentioned, the Honda Africa Twin, the KTM 890 Adventure, BMW GS, of course, but also Ducati Desert X, the Husqvarna Norden, and so on and so forth. So a bunch of bikes which I had a look at, and I was also riding most of them. So why the Honda Africa Twin? First reason for me was the capability to ride with a pillion rider together, with girlfriend, wife, whatever. So when you look at the Yamaha Tenere, the seat, at least the standard seat, is quite small at the back. Here on the Honda Africa Twin, you feel quite comfortable, I would say. And also you can put a lot of weight on the bike. So that was one reason. I think you can put around about 215 kilos, 220 kilos on the bike. That's a lot. I need it. I'm quite heavy. I also sometimes need to bring a lot of luggage with me. Camera equipment, tent also, but just clothes as well. So that was one reason for me to go with the Honda Africa Twin and not with any of the other mentioned bikes. Second aspect, reliability of Honda. I think I do not have to talk about that aspect, but for me, I feel quite comfortable when riding with any of the Japanese bikes, be it Yamaha or Honda. We all had great experiences on the tracks around Europe with the race bikes, and I guess Honda reliability, nothing to mention here. For any further. Third aspect, let me have a look at the notes, bear with me. In 2024, the standard version of the Honda Africa Twin, so there's also a second version where you have, like, I think corner lights and the tank is a bit bigger that's the Adventure Sports. But the standard version never had the electronic suspension. For me, that was a game changer when I guess it was end of 2023, the Honda Africa Twin, the standard version, came with the electronic suspension. Before, only the Adventure Sports had the electronic suspension, but the Adventure Sports was a bit too, let's say, clumsy, heavy for me. I always wanted to have the standard version with a quick shifter, not with the DCT, with a quick shifter. And yeah, I always focused on the electronic suspension. Why is that the case? Because usually I'm not a huge fan of electronics, but when you go for a long ride with your girlfriend, bring a lot of luggage, and the next day you just take the bike and go to work, for instance, you just press like 1 or 2 buttons and the bike adjusts automatically. Also, to be very honest, I would never change the setup when I'm riding off-road now and the next moment I go on the highway. I would simply not do it, right? And that was the third aspect for me to go with the Honda Africa Twin. Of course, other bikes like the BMW GS can do that as well. But there is now the fourth point, and that is also quite funny. A nice feature from my perspective, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, especially for traveling. So you can simply connect your phone with the bike and use Google Maps or any other app for navigation. And back then, I think Honda was one of the only OEMs, or the only OEM, offering that functionality. So that was reason number 4. Number 5, personal gusto, of course, always plays a reason. I think the bike looks quite aggressive from the front if you compare it to the other bikes. If you have a look at the bike from Kiran Mirabe, maybe we find a picture and put it in the video. That looks absolutely stunning from my perspective, like a KDM. And yeah, so that's reason number 5 from my perspective. The looks, the front, but also of course the tail here. I still have the license plate holder, which comes from the factory, let's say. I could switch it, but that's another story when we talk about the luggage system. And reason number 6, and that's now the last reason in chapter number 1, is pricing. All the other bikes, apart from the Yamaha Tenere and maybe the KDM, are quite expensive. So if you have a look at the BMW GS, for instance, is around about 5 to 10k more expensive than the Honda Africa Twin. I paid, I'm not sure, I think I paid round about, bought it in Germany, paid 17,000 in Germany. That includes around about 2,500, I guess, in taxes. So net 14.5. And when I imported it to Switzerland, I was at, what is it, around about 15.6, 15.5, something like that. And yeah, as mentioned, if you have a look at the BMW GS, this is a lot more expensive. The Yamaha Tenere, on the other hand, would be cheaper, but there you cannot ride with a, or you can of course, but not very comfortable with a pillion rider together and bring a lot of luggage. Also, the Yamaha Tenere does not have the electronic suspension, to the best of my knowledge. Maybe that changed by now, but these were the personal reasons for me to go with the Honda Africa Twin, and I would say let's switch to chapter 2, tires. Okay, chapter 2, the tires. My colleague just mentioned I'm talking too long, so yeah, let's see. Chapter 2, tires. A quite short one because I'm not the expert on tires, of course. We tried several tires on the racetrack, from Metzeler to Bridgestone to Dunlop to Michelin. Is it Michelin? Michelin, I guess. I wanted to have a tire which is capable of doing some off-road, and there are, all the manufacturers have that or offer that. of course, but I had watched a couple of reviews where the Bridgestone Batlex AX41R, is it, I guess, did quite well. And I can only tell my experience with the tires so far. I went to Albania and Italy last year, riding together, fully packed, and that's in total, I guess it was, or now it's about 12,000 kilometers, and there was one front tire and a little less than 2 rear tires. So I'm personally totally happy with this tire. Had various conditions from 0 degrees to 50 degrees. So from snowing in the Italian Alps to burning in Albania. I spent quite some time on highways with the tires. So you can go easy 180 kilometers an hour, fully packed with luggage. That's possible. Not sure if it's allowed, so maybe check the speed index of the tire. And also, of course, did some off-road here and there, some Trans-Euro trail riding, as mentioned, the Italian Alps, and mud, off-road, heavy load, mentioned that as already, high temperature, low temperature. In a nutshell, for me, a great tire so far. Maybe I will try further tires in the future, but that's it, I would say, from the tire perspective. So let's close chapter 2 and have a look at chapter 3, the crash bars. Okay, chapter 3, the crash bars. So here you can see the Outback Motortech crash bars, the full set. So the upper crash bars, the lower crash bars, and the plate down here. And I decided to go with the Outback Motortech crash bars due to the following reasons. First of all, of course, they have to be durable. And the guys, they put some funny videos on the internet where they by accident crashed their bikes on these crash bars, and they seem to be fine with that in terms of they can manage small crashes. So if you get an impact on the side, your fairing doesn't get damaged, especially the engine is protected, and that was of course one of the key reasons. But also other crash bars can do that. So there are Touratech crash bars, for instance, Hepco and Becker. We have Ibex and so on and so forth. Thousands of crash bars out there. But there are only certain crash bars, especially the Outback Motortech crash bar, where they have the engine protection here. On the other side, there is a little crash plate even. And that made me curious, because I think it's not only the Touratech but also the SW Motec crash bars. They, to a certain extent, protect the engine, but they do not have this engine plate on the other side. We can show that as well in the video. And that was one of the main reasons to go with the Outback Motortech crash bars. I think that's it in terms of crash bars. I would say let's switch to chapter 4, the luggage system, also a quite short one, because we will do an extra video where we explain the whole luggage system. Okay, chapter 4, the cases. You cannot see them right now mounted to the bike. We will do that in a separate video and show how to actually mount them. But just a couple of sentences in terms of luggage and cases. Again, there are thousands of manufacturers out there producing soft luggage, the aluminium cases like Touratech, SW Motec, Givi, Hepco and Becker, what else? Moscow Moto, Lone Rider, all these manufacturers I checked, and in the end I decided to go with the SW Motec system. Why is that? First reason, and we will show that as mentioned in a separate video, you can mount a little toolbox to the whole system on the other side of the exhaust, basically just underneath the tail here. Of course, the Touratech system has a toolbox as well. The toolbox would sit more or less here on the other side of the bike. But as mentioned in the previous chapter, I decided to go with the Outback MotorTech crash bars, and that's why it's not possible to mount a little toolbox here. Of course, you could just take any dry bag, small dry bag, and put some tools in there. But for me, it was quite nice to have this little toolbox underneath the tail here. Second reason is that it's quite easy to mount the SW MotorTech system. So you can see these little holders here. Also, when you have a look at the license plate, back here, there's a little holder where you just attach a little rig, or not sure how to call it, but that's it basically, and then you can put on the cases. So it's quite easy to mount and remove the whole system, so that you can, like today, have a more sporty look, let's say, on the Honda Africa Twin, and not always need to carry the whole rack system. Good. Third reason, pricing again. Pricing is always a big topic because, as mentioned, nothing sponsored here, so everything own money. All these systems are quite expensive, at least for me. For the SW MotorTech system, I got a discount because I simply asked them, right, I would buy the whole system. Are you able to give a little discount to me? And I paid, let me double check, round about 2,500 for everything what I have from them. And that not only includes the two cases on the left and the right, also the top case, and of course the whole mounting system. Also I have a tank bag. I have two little dry bags which you can attach to the crash bars here, and I also have a bigger dry bag where I can put my tent in. And looking at the other systems and the pricing of the other manufacturers seemed quite fair to me. Also, I like the black look of the system, and I would say that's it in terms of cases and systems to bring your luggage. Maybe last point to mention here, of course, you could also go with soft luggage. I always wanted to have the aluminum cases because when it rains, or you can just leave them attached to the bike, you can even lock them. And rain doesn't matter to them, I would say. And in terms of crashes, I crashed the bike once on the left-hand side. Doesn't matter to the cases. The whole system is quite stable, I would say. And yeah, that's it in terms of cases. Now I would say let's jump to the next chapter, chapter 5, the tent. Okay, guys, quite exhausting. Läuft die Kamera wieder? Okay, quite exhausting talking about all these topics here. Certainly I will forget many aspects, but let's give it a try with chapter 5, the tent. So, requirements for my tent. Of course, you have your own requirements, so always check them before buying a certain tent. But for me, it had to fit 2 people. So when I travel or bring my girlfriend, it needs to fit 2 people, right? Second point, it's also nice to have some space for the luggage if you're on a long distance ride, as mentioned, like to Albania, Greece, Croatia, whatever, and it's raining, or you just want to bring the stuff in your tent. There are certain tents which have a little space outside the sleeping area, but still covered by the tent, and that's quite nice. And third, of course, the tent needs to be durable and reliable. So if it's raining, I don't want to get wet, right? So these are the reasons. And then there are, I guess, again, thousands of tents out there which you can buy. But there are 2 very famous manufacturers in that area, and that's Redverse and Lone Rider. And both of them have these adventure tents. Not sure if that's the correct naming, but these tents can easily fit 2 people. And they also have a little space before the sleeping area, let's say, where you can put either some luggage, your cases, your personal stuff, or even the bike. And I will search for some video footage for you that you can imagine, or maybe just check out their videos online. Both of them, Redverse as mentioned and the Lone Rider tent, have these functionalities. They are quite pricey, and of course they are also, let's say, not very huge, but you can easily fit it on the bike, back here or here on this little rack. But they cost around, I think, 600 to 700 euros in Germany and Austria. And I guess they're both perfect tents. For me, I went with the Redverse. I think it's the Atacama adventure tent. Why is that? Personal gusto. Not sure about the Lone Rider tent. I guess it's perfect as well. It would even be cheaper. Plus, the Lone Rider tent comes with a dry bag already. For the other tent, for the Redverse tent, you need to buy this extra dry bag, let's say. I have it from SW Motec, as mentioned before, but that would be a pro for the, or a positive aspect of the Lone Rider tent. So I went with the Redverse tent just because of personal gusto. It's green, that's quite nice when you're out in nature, not black like the Lone Rider tent. By now maybe they have even different colors, they offer different colors. Check them out. For me, great tent, both I guess, and I only tried the Redverse so far, took it to all my trips last year. This year we'll bring it as well, and I really like the quality of the tent, not only the tent itself but also the material for fixing, not fixing but mounting the tent, very high quality. I really like the tent. Also what I like is the space before the sleeping area. You have like a little additional sun protection which you can bring out, so that's quite nice. I will see if I can find some video footage of the tent setup. Will not do it today, maybe another day, or use some old footage, but that's the tent I went with. So that's it with chapter, what is it, chapter 5 I guess. Let's continue with chapter 6, navigation. Okay, chapter 6, navigation. As mentioned, that was one of the key reasons to buy the bike, because it comes with Apple CarPlay functionality or Android Auto. I think that's the name of the system, Android Auto. And that's a game changer when you're on long distance travel, adventure, let's say, because you can simply use your phone, use Google Maps or any other navigation app. I also use Osmand. I'm not sure if that's the correct name, or is it Osmand, plus the Trans-Euro Trail application. We can also show that in the video, because when you download tracks from the TED app, you cannot open them in Google Maps. So that's why I use the Osmand app, and then simply connect to the Honda with this little Bluetooth adapter I have here. You can also use a cable, plug it in to the Honda, and that's it. But I sometimes like to just put my phone in the pocket, and then I don't want to connect it via cable. So I bought this little Bluetooth adapter, and that's what I use for navigation. So far it works absolutely great, really awesome. And I can highly also recommend the Osmand app, and at least for the European followers, the Trans-Euro Trail application, where you can get the off-road tracks for different countries like Montenegro, Albania, I guess almost whole Europe. Not sure, check it out, but that's it with navigation and what I use to navigate through the different adventures with the Honda Africa Twin. Let's continue now with chapter 7, last chapter, quite exhausting here in front of the camera, the rider's gear. Okay, last chapter, rider's gear. So what do I wear for off-road riding? What do we have here? Basically everything from Alpine Stars. As mentioned at the beginning in the disclaimer, all own money, so no sponsoring at all. So I can be quite honest with you. These are the, I guess, enduro boots from Alpine Star, the Tech 7, I think. Waterproof, at least that's what they mention on their website. They are not really waterproof, not sure why that is. Maybe due to the heavy rain conditions I had when riding to Italy. Not really happy with these boots, but they are quite expensive, around 400 bucks in Germany. Shorts, or not shorts, trousers, Alpine Stars as well. They do absolutely fine. I have the, is it the Bogota setup? I think that's the name of the clothing, yeah, also the jacket. It's basically a 3-layer jacket and trousers. So you have one layer underneath, then the main layer you can see here, and then on top, if it rains, you can just put on some rain clothes, and that works absolutely fine, completely waterproof. I also have 2 different gloves from Alpine Stars, one which is waterproof and the other pair is more for summer riding. Helmet, I do not have an adventure helmet. I have an old motocross helmet. I tried that on the Honda Africa Twin. That's quite annoying when you go high speed on different roads, country roads, highway, because you have this little shield here, and that's very, how do you call it, wobbly, I don't know. So at the present moment I use my racing helmet, which I use on the track days, right? Advantage of this helmet is, of course, it's quite stable when you ride fast. Disadvantage maybe, not sure, bit expensive for off-road riding. Did not crash it so far, but looks quite nice. Of course, it's a racing helmet. You might not like that on an adventure bike. Whatever, maybe I will try an adventure helmet in the future, but at least my old motocross helmet is not the one to go for my riding style or my adventures. Good, so everything from Alpine Stars. Of course, I'm very well aware that there are certain other manufacturers, like I think Climb is one of the most prominent, most famous manufacturers. For me, that was a bit too expensive. Their stuff, to be honest, I think only a high quality jacket from them is around 1,300 euros. And I paid for the whole setup, which you can see here, as mentioned, 400 the boots, and then the trousers 270 euro, the jacket 360, and that's way less compared to a whole Climb setup. For me, it was just a try. Works absolutely fine, also in rain conditions, apart from the boots. So let's see, maybe I need to change them in the future, or just, I don't know, dry them while riding every time it rains. Okay, I think that's it with the whole video. I just noticed I have quite dirty hands. Apologies for that, because I was mounting some stuff on the bike before we started recording the video. But that's it with the different chapters and the reasons why I personally went with the Honda Africa Twin and the different parts I bought. Just now looking at the crash bars, so one addition from my side here, because I'm quite tall, 1 meter 94, I was always afraid that the Outback Motortech crash bars, you can see here the lower crash bar, would hit my knee when I'm sitting on the bike, and I can show that now to you, because that's absolutely not the case. So let's just sit on the bike, and you can see, whoops, that's not the case, right? Knee has still quite some space, even if you're standing on the bike, that's not a problem. And you go like a little bit further in off-road riding mode, not a problem at all. So that's another point I wanted to add when it comes to the crash bars. So I would say that's it. I know, quite a long video. Hopefully all the aspects mentioned I wanted to mention, certainly forgot some, but I would say thanks for watching. Riders stay home. Ciao. you.